start here with the whole practice activity. To start this, we're going to need to create this outside cylindrical shape. So looking at this, it has an outside diameter of 4 inches and then an extruded distance of 1.5. So we got to make that first, and then what we're going to do is to create these 5 different holes onto the shape. And part of this is we're going to learn the different types of holes. There's a counter bore, there's a counter sink, and there's also a tapped. And so we're going to learn what those types of holes are, and especially how to read these notes. And that's something we're going to do in class. So this video is just really going to specifically talk about how to put these into place, and then reading these notes and talking about what they are specifically, we're going to discuss in class. So start a new part file. So starting a new part file, we'll start a sketch. And again, we're just looking to create a circle here that we can extrude out. So let's get a circle. This has a dimension of the diameter of, just double check here, the diameter of 4. So we're going to type in 4 here. And I'm going to hit finish sketch, but technically I hit E on my keyboard to go right into the extrude tool. And I need to extrude this a distance of 1.5. So 1.5. Oh, gotta make sure I type it in over here. 1.5. All right. Now that we have this in place, the instructions, if you follow along, are going to tell you to start a new sketch on this face. And what we're going to do is place a point, because what we'll do later is use these points to act as the center points of putting a hole in. And we'll do that in the 3D mode. So we're just placing essentially center points for these holes using the sketch, and then using a point here. And so we can place points here like so. Now first thing is you want to come over here to where it says format. And before, like, we changed it to a construction line, right here where it says points, we want to make sure that it's on center point. So if you deselect it, it will not be on. You want to make sure it's on, so it's on center point, because if I come here and put a point down, you're going to want to see that there are those little lines with it. If I deselect this and click a spot, it's just going to put a little green dot. And that's not what we want. We want the one with the little dashes. Okay, so make sure that little box is selected. And then what you're going to do, I go to dimension it. So I need to go from the center point of that point to my origin, 0, 0. That distance here, if we open this up, the distance from here to here is half of 2.5. Okay, you see how it's on a 2.5 diameter, and so we're looking for the radius here. So what's for this is from here to here? Well, that's half of 2.5, which is 1.25. So come here, type in 1.25. We'll hit enter, and we're good to go. So I'm locked onto there. I could come here and drag it if I wanted to. So if you placed it over here and you want to make sure it's locked on to one of these axes, again, use your constraint tool to then lock it into place, like so. Okay. Once it's there, it goes blue, it's fully constrained. Okay, so once we have that dimensioned, what we're going to do now is use the circular pattern to make 5 of them. And they're all going to be equal distance from the center. So if I go to circular pattern here, still in sketch mode, the geometry, what I need to rotate is this, that's the point. And then the axis, I could grab either a circular pattern or just the center point. So I'll grab the origin here, 0, 0. And you can see that these points are aligning now. It says right now for 6, but I want to change that to 5. We'll hit OK. And now I have those 5 points on that circle there. Now I can go ahead and finish sketch. Now with finish sketch selected, we can then go in and now place a hole at each one of these points. Okay. In the 3D mode, you'll see here that one of the tools right here is hole. If you select on hole, so grab it. Now notice it automatically grabbed all 5 of them. So if you don't want that to occur, if you hold the shift key and select any of these holes, it will deselect them. So hold shift and it will start to deselect them. Alright, so for right now we want to just start with one of them. And looking at these holes, The first one is, let's start with this guy right here. This is saying the diameter is 0.25 and it's a through hole. So that one's easy. So from the sketch, I grabbed a hole. It automatically selected that point as the center of the hole. These are where we can determine what type of hole to put in. So this first one is just a regular through hole. The next one is a counter bore. This one is also, I believe, a counter bore. And then this is a counter sink. So gives you different ones to work with. But this one we just want a drilled regular hole. And this is 0.25 inches diameter. And this is where we can determine how far we want to go. For right now, we want to go through all. But if we wanted to go a specific distance, we could click on this and tell it how far to drill through. Okay. So in this case, we'll go with through all and hit OK. And okay, now once we put that hole in, you may know that the sketch is now gone. So if I were to come in here and try to create another hole, the points are there for me to select anymore. So one thing you can do is what's called share a sketch. And so once you do something to a sketch, it gets locked in to whatever feature you put onto it. So like the extrusion was that initial sketch of that circle diameter. And like this hole, the sketch that we worked off of this was this one here. Now, if you right click that sketch and hit share sketch, what that will do now is allow that sketch to go outside of this and be reused multiple times. And so that's what we want here. So if you right click that sketch, so I opened it up, right clicked it and hit shared sketch, it now made it visible throughout the entire part. So now we could reuse it multiple times. So the next hole we'll do, I grab the hole command. Again, it grabbed those 4 points. I'm going to have to hold the shift key to deselect the ones I don't want, which is okay. All right, so this one here, the next hole we're working with, this is a counter bore, which means that there's going to be kind of 2 dimensions to it. First off, we have a 0.375 through, so that's the inner diameter. The outer diameter is 0.75, and that goes down a depth of 0.25 inches. So let's bring it up here. What we got is a counter bore. So we're going to want to select the counter bore hole here. The outside diameter of that one was 0.75. The inside diameter was 0.375. And the through diameter, I'm sorry, this is the part for the depth. The depth of that cut was 0.25. And the through hole right here is 0.375. All right, so gotta look a little closer next time, Mr. Zarek. Nice job. But again, notice this is 0.75. The depth of that hole is 0.25, and the through hole is 0.375. We'll hit apply, and we're good to go. Now, notice since the sketch is shared, and when I hit apply, it worked on that hole, and then we can move right into the next one. So this is kind of being efficient here. I'm going to hold shift and deselect some of these, and we'll start with the next one. The next one is a counter sink. This is 0.375 through, so same diameter distance through. But we have a counter sink cut here, an angled cut, that has an outside diameter of 0.75 and an angle of 82 degrees. So bringing it up. This is a counter sink now. So this has an angled cut to it. Our outside diameter, 0.75. The angle, by default, 82 degrees. And then the through diameter is 0.375. Hit apply. Nice, moving along. The next one, now we're looking at is a threaded hole, or what's called a tapped hole. This is going to have a threading inside of it, so something you could just screw into it essentially. This is going to give us the thread information in terms of how it should be threaded, and this 0.75 is giving us how far it's going to go down the threading in this sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this up. Our next one, so this is, since it's just got an overall diameter of a cut and it's not any countersink or counterbore, we're going to do a drilled hole. Now, down here is where we determine what kind of hole it is. So this button right here is where it's called a tapped hole. It means they're going to thread it. So when I select on that, it's going to bring up all of the different sizes we can work with. All right, so this is a 1/4 inch, so 0.25. We've got a 0.25 1/4 inch 20 UNC. So this is where we could determine it, and by default it came up 20 UNC. The specific class for it is a 1B, so I can choose 1B. And in this case, like we said, the depth of the drill for this, or the tapped on it, is going to be 0.75. That's the last number there. Okay, and then I hit apply. Oh, now notice I made a mistake. I forgot to deselect this guy. So I'm going to hit cancel to close my hole tool. I'm going to double click the whole one that I worked on before, and then I can shift and deselect that one and go back and hit OK and clean that up. So again, you can always make re-edits to whatever tool you use. All right, and so this last hole here they want you to work with is a clearance hole. And so in the instructions, if I drag them over here, all right, so this is a clearance hole. And what this is going to allow us to do is if we wanted to throw like a bolt through it, so a bolt and a nut, we want to make sure that it's going to be snug around the bolt, but we also want to make sure that it's a little bit larger than the bolt so that we can easily put them in as we're installing whatever it is. So this is what's called a clearance hole. So here's your information for what you need to type in for this, but where you get the clearance hole is from right here. So to finish that clearance hole, I'm going to select the hole tool. I'd select my last point. Right here is where I can change it to a clearance hole. The diameter for this is 0.531, and type of setup here, it's a hex head bolt, and it's sized for a 1/2 inch, and it's a normal. So notice set up the 0.531 for me, and go ahead and hit the check mark, and there we go. Now there's our clearance hole set up for a 1/2 inch bolt. Just a little bit bigger than the 0.5 1/2 inch. It actually cuts a little bit bigger. So there's your part. You can go ahead and save it.